มีพวกกินพวกหอยเชอรี่ตัวเล็กๆอะไรเงี้ยแล้วก็ได้มาเก็บข้าวเรียกว่าข้าวดีดข้าวอะไรที่มันร่วงไปในนาแล้วก็ช่วยย่ำกลางให้มันเรียบมันจะทำเทือกได้ไวขึ้น
Rice farming feeds over half the world's population, yet a silent crisis is threatening its very foundation. Farmers use staggering amounts of pesticides, 4 million tons annually in China alone, pushing soil and ecosystems to the brink of collapse. Could the key to preserving this vital crop actually come from a flock of humble ducks? Releasing thousands of ducks into rice fields might sound like chaos, even disaster. But the results have revealed a profound secret. Nature's own balance can restore farmlands poisoned by modern chemicals. What happens next turns conventional agriculture on its head and could change how we grow food forever. The hidden crisis in rice farming. Modern rice farming faces a crisis few are willing to confront. Years of heavy pesticide use, amounting to millions of tons annually, have pushed soil and water ecosystems beyond their natural limits. These chemicals were introduced to control pests and boost yields, but their widespread application has severely damaged the microorganisms that keep soil healthy. As a result, the land's ability to regenerate naturally is rapidly declining, threatening the sustainability of rice production worldwide. Rice fields are not just parcels of land for growing crops. They are delicate ecosystems that support a wide variety of life forms essential for healthy growth. When pesticides disrupt this balance, the soil's natural fertility weakens and yields stagnate or even fall despite the increased use of fertilizers and chemicals. This cycle raises input costs for farmers, forcing more intense chemical use just to maintain production levels. Yet the effectiveness of these inputs diminishes over time, creating a slow but steady decline in farm productivity. More than 40% of global agricultural land is affected by this degradation, according to numerous studies. With over half the world's population depending on rice as a staple food, the consequences are potentially catastrophic. We are witnessing a feedback loop where chemical dependency worsens soil conditions, which in turn demands more chemicals. This silent erosion of farmland health threatens global food security and challenges the future of farming as we know it. The pressure is particularly acute in China, which applies 4 million tons of pesticides every year to rice paddies. The heavy toll has caused more than 40% of fertile land to become degraded, which creates difficulties for both researchers and policymakers. The crisis shows itself in food production throughout the world because it affects all major rice-producing countries. The current industrial farming methods face an urgent need for replacement because every season more farms develop permanent damage. People tend to perceive chemical-intensive farming as cheaper than upcoming solutions, although the evidence shows otherwise. Farmers experience immediate benefits from mechanized equipment and chemicals, which increase their yields while their underlying agricultural systems decline. The agricultural system grants short-term benefits, which most people fail to recognize because they actually lead to long-term system vulnerability. The main obstacle organizations need to overcome involves finding methods that allow them to produce more food while protecting environmental resources needed for future generations. The issue becomes more complex because rice fields are linked to the ecosystems that exist around them. The weakness of these fields releases harmful effects which impact both wildlife and water quality and climate conditions. Chemical stress on flooded paddies results in elevated methane emissions, which create a major greenhouse gas problem. The agricultural sector contributes about 20 to 25% of worldwide emissions, which results mainly from fertilizer use and the loss of productive agricultural land. Chemical stress on rice paddies causes the complete elimination of beneficial organisms that serve as natural pest control mechanisms. The absence of these natural pest control systems results in pest outbreaks that occur with increased frequency and higher intensity. Farmers use additional pesticides, which creates a negative cycle that becomes more difficult to control. The ongoing decline makes it difficult to produce consistent harvests, which results in increased risk for small-scale farmers. Many people do not recognize the full extent of the crisis because rice fields continue to generate food every single year. The soil contains a living ecosystem, which currently faces a serious threat. The future of rice farming depends on breaking free from this destructive pattern, and surprisingly, one answer comes from a centuries-old practice involving an unlikely helper. The solution lies in a tradition that dates back hundreds of years, where the balance of ecosystems was respected and utilized rather than overwhelmed. Traditional rice duck farming origins. Before synthetic chemicals and modern machinery transformed agriculture, rice was grown using methods that embraced nature's cycles. One such ancient practice found across East Asia centered on the harmonious relationship between rice plants and ducks sharing the same fields. For more than 600 years, farmers released ducks into flooded rice paddies shortly after transplanting seedlings, creating a living ecosystem rather than a simple crop field. This integrated system relied on ducks to perform essential ecological tasks. The ducks moved freely through the shallow water, eating insects that threatened the rice and nibbling on young weeds, competing for nutrients. Their gentle stirring of the water and mud aerated the soil, helping rice roots grow deeper and stronger. Unlike chemical fertilizers, the ducks' droppings provided a steady, natural source of nutrients that supported plant growth without pollution risks. Remarkably, this method did not require mechanical tilling, pesticides, or synthetic fertilizers. Over centuries, rice duck farming maintained stable yields by fostering a balance within the ecosystem. Pest outbreaks were rare because ducks reduced populations of destructive insects early in their life cycles. Soil fertility was preserved through natural biological processes rather than chemical inputs. This harmony allowed rice fields to sustain themselves across generations. Historical agricultural records show that this model was widely practiced throughout East Asian rice-growing regions. It was never just a farming technique, but an ecological approach embedded in local knowledge and culture. By working with nature instead of against it, farmers preserved not only their crops, but the environment that supported them. The rice duck system represents an early instance of regenerative agriculture according to its historical development, which predates contemporary environmental movements. The system showed that ecosystems could function without human involvement through their native biomes, which provided natural solutions to agricultural problems. The practice demonstrated to scientists that ecosystem health determines agricultural production capacity, which modern agricultural practices just begun to understand. Industrial agriculture expansion caused this system, which demonstrated substantial benefits, to disappear from many countries. Farmers started to prefer mechanical transplanters because they offered better crop yields and required less work than traditional farming techniques, while chemical pesticides and synthetic fertilizers did the same. The shift to mechanized rice farming resulted in farmers transforming duck rice ecosystems into chemical-dependent monoculture farms. The negative effects of industrial agriculture have led to renewed interest in rice duck farming. Farmers and researchers are now studying historical agricultural methods that they used to develop environmentally friendly farming techniques. The wisdom that centuries of agricultural experience hold provides essential knowledge for maintaining ecological health while achieving productivity goals. Ducks serve as a valuable solution for chemical-heavy agricultural fields because their use has been proven through historical applications of rice duck farming methods. The system proves modern agriculture needs more than chemical substances and machinery because it shows how farming can use natural rhythms for agricultural operations. The way ducks work in these fields offers a closer look at the mechanisms behind this ancient ecological balance. Ducks as nature's farm assistants. At first glance, releasing ducks into fragile rice paddies seems risky. Young rice plants appear vulnerable, and it is easy to assume the birds would trample the crops. In practice, the opposite happens. Ducks naturally avoid healthy rice plants and instead target insects and weeds that threaten the harvest. Ducks feed on many common rice pests, including brown planthoppers, stem borers, and leafhoppers. As they move constantly through the fields, they disrupt pest life cycles and reduce populations before serious damage occurs. This makes ducks a living form of pest control, significantly lowering the need for chemical pesticides that often harm surrounding ecosystems. Weeds are another major challenge in rice farming, competing for nutrients, sunlight, and space. Ducks help manage this problem by feeding on young weeds such as duckweed, barnyard grass, and wild rice shoots. Their movement also disturbs weed roots and prevents dense growth. This natural tilling introduces oxygen into the soil and water, improving soil structure and supporting healthier rice roots. The ducks' constant stirring of mud functions like gentle mechanical tilling but without damaging crops. At the same time, their droppings provide a slow-release organic fertilizer rich in nitrogen and organic matter. This steady input nourishes soil microbes and rice plants more sustainably than synthetic fertilizers. Timing and density are essential for success. Ducks are typically introduced 2 to 3 weeks after transplanting, once rice plants are strong enough. Introducing them too early risks damaging seedlings, while being too late reduces their effectiveness. Optimal density usually ranges from 150 to 300 ducks per hectare. Fewer ducks offer limited control, while too many can cloud the water and stress rice roots, reducing photosynthesis. Ducks must also be removed before the panicle initiation stage, when rice begins forming grains. Disturbance during this sensitive period can reduce yields, making careful management essential. Studies from China and Japan show that well-managed rice duck systems can reduce pesticide use by 50 to 70% and chemical fertilizer use by 20 to 40%, while maintaining or even increasing yields. These reductions lower costs and environmental damage, transforming ducks from potential threats into valuable farming partners. This partnership between animals and crops highlights a broader shift toward ecological farming, one that restores balance between productivity and environmental health without relying heavily on chemicals. The benefits seen from pest and weed control hint at even deeper ecological improvements waiting to be explored. Ecological benefits beyond pest control. The presence of ducks in rice fields does much more than just control pests and weeds. It transforms the very environment beneath the water's surface. As ducks move continuously through the shallow paddies, their feet gently stir the soil, introducing oxygen into layers that would otherwise become compacted and anaerobic. This natural aeration enhances root health, enabling rice plants to grow deeper and stronger, a stark contrast to the suffocating conditions created by chemical fertilizers and heavy machinery. This constant disturbance also disrupts the breeding and survival of harmful organisms like mosquito larvae, which thrive in still water. By breaking up the stagnant surface, ducks effectively reduce populations of insects that not only damage crops, but also pose health risks to local communities. Their activity creates a dynamic environment that favors beneficial species over pests, rebalancing the ecological food web. Beyond pest control, the addition of oxygen into the water lowers methane emissions, one of rice farming's largest environmental challenges. Methane is produced under oxygen-poor conditions typical of conventional flooded paddies and is a potent greenhouse gas contributing to climate change. Studies have shown that rice fields managed with ducks produce 20 to 30% less methane than chemically intensive fields, proving this age-old method not only guards food security, but also fights global warming. The duck's droppings act as a natural, slow-release fertilizer rich in nitrogen and organic matter. Unlike synthetic fertilizers, which often flood the system all at once and cause runoff pollution, this steady nutrient supply nourishes both the soil and plants evenly through the growing season. This organic input supports beneficial soil microorganisms that help cycle nutrients, rebuild soil structure, and maintain fertility over time. The rice paddies start to restore their original state of pristine condition after farmers reduce their chemical usage. The algae blooms start to decrease while the terrible smells from anaerobic decomposition begin to vanish. The revival brings forth a biodiversity attraction that starts with the return of beneficial insects to agricultural fields and progresses to the arrival of frogs, small fish, dragonflies, and waterbird species. The rice field transforms from a single crop production facility to a dynamic natural environment that develops into an active ecosystem after its period of industrial agriculture. The restored biodiversity helps the ecosystem functions of the land, while additionally strengthening the agricultural system's capacity to overcome challenges. The balanced interactions between species lead to decreased pest outbreaks, which also stops soil erosion from occurring. The complete system operates through a self-sustaining cycle, which has suffered destruction from uncontrolled chemical usage, yet is currently experiencing a revival. The ecological restoration process helps farmers reduce their need for synthetic products while decreasing their encounters with agricultural pests and infectious diseases. The solution provides access to methods that work to replenish soil health instead of using practices that gradually cause soil depletion. The practice of rice duck farming functions as a connection between previous industrial extraction practices and agricultural methods that focus on complete environmental restoration. People need both time and advanced expertise to implement this technique because they must learn how to manage water resources and track the movements of ducks throughout different time periods. The environmental enhancements that people make through their efforts reach far beyond their initial goals because they produce enduring positive effects on climate, land, and society. With these ecological advantages in place, the practical benefits for farmers and communities extend even further, reshaping economic realities in surprising ways. Economic and social advantages. The return of ducks to rice fields does more than heal the environment. It also reshapes the economics of farming in profound ways. By cutting pesticide use by half or more and reducing chemical fertilizer needs by up to 40%, farmers save high costs each season. For small-scale households especially, these savings mean the difference between profit and loss in a market where input prices continue to rise relentlessly. But the economic impact goes beyond simple cost reductions. Rice produced in these duck-integrated systems often carries a label of ecological or low-chemical rice, tapping into growing consumer demand for safer, more sustainable food. In many Asian markets, this rice sells for 10 to 30% higher prices than conventional varieties, translating into increased income for farmers willing to adopt this age-old practice. The ducks themselves become valuable assets, serving multiple roles on the farm. With access to natural food sources in the paddies, they grow quickly, requiring minimal commercial feed and very little antibiotic intervention. At harvest, farmers can sell the ducks' meat or eggs, creating an additional revenue stream separate from rice sales. This diversification helps cushion farmers against volatile rice prices and market risks. The revenue from ducks serves as an active revenue stream, which helps to cover most of the rice production expenses. The system functions as an economic framework because both rice and ducks create interdependent relationships that sustain the family business. Modern agriculture practices a dual farming system, which maintains complete separation between livestock operations and agricultural activities. The rice duck system provides social benefits because it enables smallholder farmers to adopt a method that decreases their chemical exposure and health hazards. The agricultural operation achieves safer working conditions through reduced pesticide application, which protects both employees and nearby communities from environmental harm. The system enables farmers to revive their ecological understanding and ecological diversity, which leads to greater appreciation for their sustainable traditional methods. The community value system creates stronger relationships among residents while safeguarding traditional agricultural practices, which face extinction due to industrial development. Farmers can reduce their need for costly products that major agribusiness companies provide through this integrated system. The system gives farmers power over their agricultural output and expenses, which becomes critical in areas that lack access to financial support through credit and subsidies. The method offers a solution that enables rural economies to achieve greater stability during periods of unpredictable global market conditions. The promise of these advantages, however, comes with challenges that require careful management and local adaptation to succeed over the long term. Challenges and adaptations for modern use. While integrating ducks into rice fields offers impressive benefits, it is not a method that can be applied everywhere without careful management. Successful rice duck farming depends heavily on precise timing, beginning with when the ducks are released. They should enter the paddies 2 to 3 weeks after transplanting, once the rice plants are strong enough to withstand movement. Introducing ducks too early can damage young seedlings, while releasing them too late reduces their ability to control weeds and pests effectively. Duck density is another crucial factor. Studies from China and Japan suggest that keeping between 150 and 300 ducks per hectare produces the best results. Too few ducks fail to provide enough biological control, while too many can disturb the water, stress rice roots, and reduce photosynthesis. Maintaining this balance requires farmers to understand both duck behavior and rice growth stages, making practical knowledge essential. The timing of duck removal is just as important. Ducks must be taken out when the rice reaches the panicle initiation stage, when the plant begins forming grains. Any disturbance during this sensitive phase can reduce yields. For farmers managing large or multiple fields, coordinating this process adds another layer of complexity. Predators also present a serious challenge. The presence of snakes, foxes, feral dogs, and birds of prey in the area enables them to capture ducks, which results in significant damage to duck populations. The process of safeguarding flocks against danger requires additional workforce and yet needs either fencing systems or nighttime shelters, which become hard to maintain in areas that face insufficient resources and workforce deficiencies. Rice duck systems require specific environmental conditions for successful implementation. The system depends on specific ecological processes, which cannot function in fields that experience unreliable watering, steep terrain, and heavy pollution. Contaminated environments prevent duck populations from restoring vital soil microorganisms. The assessment of local environmental conditions needs to happen before implementation. The main obstacles to progress exist in training and labor. The system requires people to observe 3 different aspects, which include water levels, crop development, and duck behavior. A small error will result in producing more crop damage than the original benefits. The education of farmers, combined with extension services, will create success that lasts in the agricultural sector. The combination of emerging technologies and collaborative farming methods gives agricultural producers effective ways to overcome existing difficulties. Drones and sensors enable agricultural producers to monitor their fields, while farmer networks provide accessible, practical information. The combination of these 2 advancements allows traditional systems to blend with contemporary agricultural practices. This story of ducks restoring poisoned rice fields reminds us that nature often holds the answers to our toughest problems. By reconnecting farming with ecological balance, we open the door to healthier food systems and a more sustainable future. If you found this perspective insightful, please like the video, subscribe for more stories that uncover the hidden ways nature and culture shape our world, and stay with us for the next journey waiting on your screen.